There's a coin in your pocket right now. Look at it. Hold it. In 235 AD, a Roman soldier held a coin exactly like that. Same weight, same confidence, same belief it would hold value forever. His coin became worthless in 50 years. Yours, the clock started ticking the day it was minted. Here's what they don't teach you. Currency collapse isn't random. It's not bad luck or poor timing. It's a pattern, a cycle that's repeated for 2,000 years. 8 stages every single time. We're at stage 7, and the terrifying part, nobody sees it coming until it's too late. To understand what's happening right now to your savings, your paycheck, your future, we need to go back, not decades, millennia. Because this story doesn't start with America. It starts with an empire that thought it was invincible. History doesn't repeat, they say, but it rhymes. And right now, if you listen carefully, the rhyme is getting louder. The same pattern that destroyed Rome is playing out in your grocery store, in your rent increase, in every dollar that buys less than it did yesterday. What I'm about to show you isn't taught in schools, but it's documented in every historical archive, proven in every fallen empire, and it's happening again right now. To us, if your grocery bill jumped 30% and your paycheck stayed flat, that's not random. It's not corporate greed alone. It's not even politics. It's stage 5 of an 8-stage pattern that's 2,000 years old, and we're watching it replay in real time. The question isn't whether the pattern exists. The question is, can we see it before it's too late? Let me take you to Rome, 235 AD, the greatest empire the world had ever seen. 3 million square miles, 50 million people, roads connecting 3 continents, aqueducts bringing water to cities that gleamed with marble, the Pax Romana 2 centuries of peace and prosperity. Roman coins were trusted everywhere. From Britain to Egypt, merchants accepted them without question. The denarius contained 95% silver, solid, real, valuable. When a Roman soldier got paid, he held actual wealth in his hands. Source: Roman imperial coinage, Mattingly and Sydenham. British Museum Press. The empire felt permanent, unshakable, eternal. But beneath the surface, something was breaking. The borders needed defending. Germanic tribes pushed from the north. Persian armies threatened from the east. Each war cost money, lots of it, and Rome was running out. The government faced a choice: raise taxes and spark rebellion, cut spending and lose territory, or debase the currency, make coins that looked the same but contained less silver, the same weight, the same stamp, just less actual value inside. They chose debasement. The silver content dropped from 95% to 90%, then 80%, then 50%. By 268 AD, the denarius contained just 5% silver. Source: The Coinage of the Roman Empire, Harald Johns Hopkins University Press. A 95% debasement in 33 years. The coin looked identical. The value was gone. Merchants noticed first. They raised prices to compensate. Bread that cost 1 denarius now cost 2, then 4. Then nobody could predict what anything would cost next week. Price controls were enacted. They failed. Black markets flourished. The currency was dying and everyone knew it except the government that kept printing more. Here's the household connection. When Roman currency collapsed, bread prices doubled every month at the peak. Source: The Economic Collapse of Rome. Grant, Routledge. Your eggs went up 200% in 3 years. Different century, same mathematics, same mechanism destroying purchasing power. But here's what they didn't see coming. When currency loses value, trust evaporates. Foreign merchants stopped accepting denarii. They demanded payment in goods or other currencies. Trade routes broke down. Supply chains collapsed. The economy that fed 50 million people began to starve. Marcus Aurelius Claudius was a baker in Rome. 3rd generation. His grandfather had saved enough denarii to buy the bakery. His father expanded it. Marcus thought he'd pass it to his son. Then came the debasement. His savings, 30 years of work, lost 90% of their purchasing power in a decade. He couldn't afford flour at the new prices. Couldn't raise bread prices fast enough without riots. By 270 AD, the bakery was gone. His family was destitute. 1 generation from prosperity to poverty. That's what currency collapse does. Not to empires, to bakers, to families, to you. The crisis of the 3rd century lasted 50 years. 26 emperors in 50 years, most assassinated. The empire split into three competing states. Trade collapsed, cities shrank, literacy declined. The civilization that built the Colosseum couldn't maintain basic infrastructure, all because they thought they could print their way to prosperity. Source: The 3rd Century Crisis. Southern Routledge. Notice the 3 warning signs: massive government debt from wars, currency debasement to pay that debt, loss of foreign confidence in the currency. 3 signs. In that order, remember them. This pattern didn't die with Rome. It went dormant, waiting. 14 centuries later, it awakened in a different empire under a different name. Spain, 1556, the richest nation on earth. Spanish galleons returned from the Americas loaded with gold and silver. Between 1500 and 1650, Spain imported 180 tons of gold and 16,000 tons of silver from the New World. Source: The Spanish Empire. Thomas Random House. Enough wealth to buy the entire continent of Europe, twice. King Philip II inherited this treasure. He also inherited his father's wars. The Netherlands rebelled. England threatened. France competed. The Ottoman Empire pressed from the east. Every war needed funding, lots of it. But here's the thing about gold and silver: they're only valuable if they're scarce. When you flood the market with precious metals, each coin becomes worth less. Supply and demand, basic economics. But empires in their prime don't think about basic economics. They think about glory. Prices in Spain increased 400% between 1500 and 1600. Source: Spanish Price Revolution. Harvard Economic Studies. A loaf of bread that cost 1 maravedi now cost 5, rent quadrupled. Wages couldn't keep up. Sound familiar? Your rent jumped 60% since 2020. Your salary increased 5%. Same pattern, different metal. Philip borrowed from Italian and German banking families. The Fuggers, the Genoese. The interest payments climbed faster than the silver arrived. By 1557, the treasury was empty despite rooms full of gold. The mathematics stopped working. August 1557, Philip made an announcement that would echo through history. Spain was defaulting on its debts. The richest nation on earth couldn't pay its bills. Source: Sovereign Default. The History. Reinhardt and Rogoff, Princeton University Press. Isabella Ruiz lived in Seville. Her husband was a merchant who lent money to the crown. The king's promise was considered safer than any investment. When Philip defaulted, her husband lost everything: the house, the business, the future. Isabella, who had grown up in comfort, died in poverty. The crown's promise was worthless. The gold was real, but the debt was realer. The creditors saw the pattern. They stopped lending to Spain. When they did lend, they demanded crushing interest rates. Spain defaulted again in 1596 and 1607 and 1627 and 1647, 4 times in 90 years. Each default made the next one inevitable. The empire that conquered the New World couldn't conquer compound interest. Notice something? The same 3 warning signs appeared again. Massive debt from wars. Currency debasement through inflation, this time by flooding markets with precious metals. Loss of creditor confidence. The pattern repeats. The details change. The outcome doesn't. The cycle continued, silent for centuries, then roared back to life in the 20th century with unprecedented violence. Germany, 1918. The Great War just ended. 4 years of industrialized slaughter, 2 million German soldiers dead. The Treaty of Versailles demanded reparations. 132 billion gold marks. Source: The Economic Consequences of the Peace. Keynes, 1919. An impossible sum, a debt designed to cripple. The Weimar Republic faced the same choice Rome faced, the same choice Spain faced: raise taxes and spark revolution, default and face occupation, or print money. They printed at first, slowly, then faster, then exponentially. The currency supply doubled every few weeks. Prices doubled to match, then doubled again, and again. November 1923, $1 equaled 4.2 trillion German marks. Source: When Money Dies. Ferguson, Public Affairs, books, read that again. Trillion with a T. A wheelbarrow of marks couldn't buy a loaf of bread. Life savings became worthless overnight, not over years, overnight. Johann Weber was a schoolteacher in Berlin, 42 years old. He'd saved his entire career for retirement. His savings account held 180,000 marks, enough to live comfortably for 20 years at 1918 prices. By November 1923, his life savings bought one loaf of bread. His wife became a housemaid. His daughter left school to work in a factory. Johann taught until he died at his desk, age 71, because retirement was no longer possible. That's what hyperinflation does. Not to governments, to teachers, to families who did everything right, to anyone who believed in paper promises. The human cost was staggering. The middle class, the backbone of any stable society, vanished. Doctors became cab drivers. Engineers became manual laborers. People who had saved for decades watched their futures evaporate. The social contract broke. When money dies, trust dies. When trust dies, civilization fractures. Source: The Weimar Republic, The Crisis of Classical Modernity, Puchert, Hill, and Wang, and What Followed. Political extremism: the rise of parties promising simple solutions to complex problems. By 1933, democracy was dead. The pattern of currency collapse fed the pattern of authoritarianism. Economic crisis creates political crisis, always without fail. Here's your modern connection. Student loan debt hit $1.7 trillion in 2024. Source: Federal Student Aid. 2024, that's unpayable, mathematically impossible for an entire generation. When debt becomes unpayable, governments have three choices: default, austerity, or inflate it away. Guess which one they always choose. Your degree costs $200,000. Your purchasing power is being inflated away right now. Different mechanism, same wealth transfer. This pattern went unlearned. Or perhaps it was learned too well, because 75 years after Weimar, the cycle returned with surgical precision. Fast forward to 2008, the modern empire's greatest test. September 15th, Lehman Brothers, a 158-year-old investment bank, filed for bankruptcy. $639 billion in assets vanished. Source: Lehman Brothers Chapter 11, filing U.S. bankruptcy court. The global financial system froze. Banks stopped trusting each other. Credit markets seized. The dominoes began to fall. The Federal Reserve faced the same ancient choice: let the collapse happen naturally, or print. They printed $4.5 trillion through quantitative easing between 2008 and 2014. Source: Federal Reserve balance sheet data. They didn't call it debasement, they called it monetary stimulus. History will call it by its real name. The money had to go somewhere. It went into assets. Stock markets soared. Real estate boomed. But groceries? Your groceries absorbed that inflation too. Slowly at first, then faster. The money supply increased 40% between 2020 and 2022. Source: Federal Reserve M2. Money stock your eggs didn't get 40% better, they just cost 40% more. Sarah Chen was a pension fund manager in Chicago. She managed retirement accounts for 35,000 people: teachers, nurses, firefighters. In 2008, U.S. Treasury bonds seemed like the safest investment on earth, the full faith and credit of the United States government. Unshakable, but Sarah ran the long-term numbers. With interest rates near zero and real inflation running higher than official statistics, bonds were losing money in purchasing power. The retirees she served were getting poorer every year, and the statements said they were staying even. She realized what Rome's merchants realized, what Spain's creditors realized, what Weimar citizens learned too late: when currency debases, savers lose. Always, without exception. She shifted portfolios toward inflation, protected securities, and tangible assets. Her colleagues thought she was paranoid, but history had taught her the pattern. She saw the same three warning signs: massive government debt, $35.9 trillion by 2024. Source: U.S. Treasury. October 2024 currency expansion through money printing, and increasingly, loss of foreign confidence in the dollar. See the pattern yet? Rome, Spain, Germany, America. Different centuries, different currencies, identical stages. The details are decorative, the pattern is fundamental. And here's the part that should terrify you. Every empire thought they were different. Every empire had reasons to believe the pattern wouldn't apply to them. Rome had military might. Spain had New World gold. Germany had industrial capacity. America has reserve currency, status, and technology. Every empire was wrong. So what does this mean for you? For us? For right now? Today, the national debt stands at $35.9 trillion as of October 2024. Source: U.S. Department of Treasury. That's $270,000 per taxpayer. The interest on that debt costs $1.1 trillion annually. Source: Congressional Budget Office 2024 projection. More than we spend on defense, more than Medicare, just interest. On borrowed money that bought temporary stability while creating permanent obligation. Inflation from 2020 to 2024, 23% cumulative. Source: Bureau of Labor Statistics, CPI data. Your average wage increase over the same period, 5.4%. Source: BLS Real Earnings Summary. That's a gap of 17.6 percentage points. That gap is your wealth being quietly transferred, not stolen, not taxed directly, just ... eroded, like water wearing down stone. Slowly, invisibly, relentlessly. Let's make this brutally personal. Let's talk about your actual life right now. Groceries. A gallon of milk cost $3.10 in 2020. Today, $5.20. Source: USDA National Retail Report 2024. Ground beef went from $3.89 per pound to $6.45. A box of cereal jumped from $3.50 to $5.89. That's not incremental inflation. That's currency debasement at the checkout counter. Your paycheck is printed paper. Your groceries reflect its real value. Rent. Median two-bedroom apartment rent hit $1,950 nationally in 2024. In 2020, $1,200. Source: Zillow Rental Index. That's a 62.5% increase in 4 years. Did your salary increase? 62.5%? The pattern doesn't show up in economic papers first. It shows up in your mailbox every single month. Healthcare. Average family insurance premium reached $24,368 in 2024. Source: Kaiser Family Foundation Annual Survey. Your share averaged $7,102 annually. In 2020, your share was $4,980. That's a 42% increase. And here's the cruel joke: your coverage covers less. Higher deductibles, more exclusions. You're paying more for less. The pattern at work? Savings. If you saved $10,000 in 2020, its purchasing power today equals $7,900. Source: CPI inflation calculator. You didn't spend a penny. You lost $2,100 anyway. That's the hidden tax of monetary expansion. They don't take it from your account. They just make every dollar in your account worth less. Legal, quiet, devastating. Student loans. Average monthly payment, $503. Median rent, $1,950. Add groceries at $450 monthly. Utilities, $150. Healthcare $250. Transportation, $350. That's $3,653 per month minimum. Source: Federal Student Aid 2024. Census Bureau data. Median take-home pay for recent graduates, $3,100. Source: NAE's Salary Survey 2020. For the mathematics don't work. They're not supposed to. The debt is designed to be perpetual. A generation indentured, not by chains, but by compound interest. But we have technology now, right? Innovation will save us. Cryptocurrency promised to break the cycle. Decentralized, uncensorable, limited supply. No government could print more Bitcoin. It hit $69,000 in November 2021. Source: CoinMarketCap historical data. Then came the crypto winter. Bitcoin crashed to $16,000 by November 2022, a 77% collapse. FTX, the second largest exchange, imploded overnight. $32 billion in customer funds vanished. Source: FTX bankruptcy filing November 2022. The founder got arrested. The customers got nothing. Different technology, same human psychology, same boom-bust cycle. History doesn't care about blockchain. It cares about patterns. Even artificial intelligence, the cutting edge of modern innovation, can't solve ancient economic cycles. Algorithmic trading manages trillions. On May 6, 2010, algorithms caused the flash crash. $1 trillion in market value disappeared in minutes before recovering. Source: SEC CFTC flash crash report. Machines can't predict human panic. They amplify it. See the pattern. Rome thought military power made them immune. Spain thought New World gold was infinite. Germany thought industrial capacity would recover them. America thinks technology changes the rules. Every empire believes innovation exempts them from history. Every empire discovers that human nature, fear, greed, short-term thinking remains constant. Notice something else. The cycle accelerates. Rome took 50 years to collapse. Spain took 90 years of repeated defaults. Weimar took 5 years. The 2008 crisis almost destroyed the system in 5 months. Each iteration happens faster because currency moves faster. Information spreads faster. Panic cascades faster. The next crisis won't announce itself with years of warning. It'll arrive on a Tuesday morning, probably when markets are closed, probably when everyone's convinced we've solved the problem. But here's what keeps me up at night. We have more warning signs now than any empire in history. We can see Rome's mistakes. We studied Spain's defaults. We documented Weimar's hyperinflation. We lived through 2008. We have 2,000 years of pattern data, and we're following the script anyway, step by step, stage by stage. Like actors who've memorized their lines so well, they can't imagine saying anything else. The 3 warning signs appeared again. All 3. In order: massive debt, $35.9 trillion in climbing. Currency expansion, 40% increase in money supply in 2 years. Loss of foreign confidence, China reducing treasury holdings, foreign central banks diversifying reserves. Source: U.S. Treasury tick data 2024. 3 signs. Same sequence, every empire, every time. The pattern doesn't ask permission. It doesn't care about military strength or technological advancement or reserve currency status. It just ... executes, like code, like natural law, like gravity pulling water downhill. 5 empires, 5 collapses, same stages, same warnings, same ending, each separated by centuries, each convinced they'd figured out what the others missed, each surprised when the pattern claimed them anyway. History doesn't repeat, but it echoes, and right now, the echo is deafening. Your grocery receipt writes a sentence. Your rent increase adds a paragraph. Your shrinking savings contribute a chapter. The story is being written in real time, in checkout lanes and mailboxes and bank statements across the country. The question isn't whether we're living through the pattern. The evidence is overwhelming. The question is, what chapter are we on? How much time is left? And the terrifying answer is, nobody knows. Rome thought they had decades. Germany thought they had years. Lehman Brothers thought they had weeks. They all ran out of time faster than they believed possible. Are we the generation that breaks the cycle, or are we the generation that proves it unbreakable? Are we smart enough, aware enough, courageous enough to do what no empire has ever done: acknowledge the pattern and change course before the ending arrives? Every empire had reasons to believe they were exceptional. Every empire had evidence of their unique advantages. Every empire was wrong. What makes us think we're different? So here's what I can't stop asking myself. If the pattern is real and the historical evidence is overwhelming, and if we're following the same stages Rome followed, Spain followed, Germany followed, then when does awareness become action? When does knowing the pattern change the pattern? Or does knowing the pattern just mean we watch it happen with our eyes open? Look at your last grocery receipt. Not the total, the individual prices. Compare them to 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Now look at your paycheck. Compare the increase. The gap between those numbers, that gap is the pattern made visible. That gap is 2,000 years of history playing out in your wallet. So let me ask you, when did you first notice? Not when economists announced inflation. Not when media covered it. When did you first feel it? Was it the grocery store? The gas pump? The rent increase that made you reconsider your budget? The moment you realized your savings were losing value just sitting there? Drop a comment below. Tell me your moment, because here's what I'm discovering. The people who see the pattern first aren't economists or historians. They're parents buying groceries, workers paying rent, families watching their purchasing power evaporate in real time. The pattern reveals itself in everyday life before it appears in textbooks. And here's my question for you. If history is a pattern and we're watching stage 7 of 8 unfold, what's the one thing you're doing differently? Not financial advice, just awareness. What are you seeing that others miss? Let me know below. I read every single comment. Next week, we're going deeper into something that should terrify every person watching this. There's one decision, one single choice that every collapsing empire faced at the critical moment. one fork in the road, one move that could change everything. No empire in history has ever made the right choice. Not one will we be the first, or will we prove the pattern perfect. You won't want to miss it. If this connected ancient Rome to your modern rent payment in a way that made you see money differently, hit subscribe. Because this isn't the last pattern, this isn't the only cycle. There are patterns in employment, in asset bubbles, in political crisis that follow economic collapse. Patterns that affect your job, your savings, your future. Every week, we connect history to your household. We make the invisible visible. Thank you for watching this through to the end, for thinking with me, for seeing what's hidden in plain sight. If you want to understand where we're headed by studying where empires have gone before, subscribe. More patterns, more history, more truth. I'll see you in the next one.